Tonight, hundreds told to run for their lives as a firestorm bears down on Perth homes. Desperately needed supplies at last getting through to cyclone-stricken communities. The army of workers helping to restore power to the north.
Defence normally does things as it gets in and keeps at the job until the job is done.
And is it pink? The Beckhams learned the sex of their fourth child.
This is 10 News with Lexi Hamilton-Smith.
Good evening. Up to 20 homes have been engulfed and more than 100 people have fled their properties as an out-of-control bushfire rips through Perth's hill suburbs. It's being fanned by strong winds and isn't expected to ease until tomorrow.
Out of control and consuming homes, massive flames are ravaging 2 residential suburbs in Perth. Dozens of streets have been closed. The fire sprung up so quickly that residents were given just 20 minutes to get out. Those who were away from their properties were not allowed to return. The blaze began while firefighters and a number of heli-tacs were battling another major fire in bushland northeast of Perth. The new disaster taking authorities by surprise. Resources are stretched to the limit. Severe winds are hampering the emergency response and fuelling the fire. Authorities can't confirm how many homes and other buildings have been lost, but the 10 News chopper has counted at least 8 burning. The blaze began near a major highway, but it's too early to tell if it was deliberately lit. Alice Pooley, 10 News.
The mammoth effort to repair cyclone-devastated North Queensland is being ramped up, but authorities admit it could take years for many communities to recover. But there is some good news at last. The Bruce Highway between Cairns and Townsville has reopened, allowing much-needed supplies to reach cut-off residents. Now, Melinda Nusafora is in Tully, and Melinda, this has come just in time for many people.
It certainly has, Lexi. Things were getting pretty dicey here in far north Queensland. The Bruce Highway has been closed at Cardwell for 3 days now. A lot of vital supplies are trucked into the region from Townsville, which is south of Tully, and they haven't been able to get fresh fruit and vegetables and vital medication north of Townsville for about 3 to 4 days now. So things were getting quite serious and the community was getting very concerned. Police are warning motorists, though, that there are changed traffic conditions now that the Bruce Highway has reopened and that motorists should drive with caution.
Well, now, Melinda, we understand there's been a big rush for financial support there today as well.
There certainly has, and just as another reminder of the sheer magnitude of this cyclone, this building behind me was the original evacuation centre here in Tully. This is where people started to come to shelter from Cyclone Yasi, and it's been completely destroyed. Residents are now queuing up outside the showgrounds here in Tully to access emergency assistance grants and Centrelink payments of up to $1,000 from the federal government, and that's really going to take a load off people's minds here. The Premier, Anna Bligh, has also been in the region today. She toured some affected schools here in Tully. Thousands of students are going to be missing classes in the near future because of the devastation. Tully State High looks more like a scrapyard than a schoolyard.
Destroyed. It's just gone.
The site is a mass of twisted metal, fallen trees and sheets of asbestos. It's now condemned, like so many other schools across the north.
And we have 83 schools that will not be open tomorrow. 42 of those because of damage to the schools, the others because of a lack of power or water.
Much of far north Queensland is still without power or the internet, and information about school closures and contingency plans just isn't getting through.
Nothing. We've been left in the dark.
It could be days, if not weeks, before makeshift schools are ready for classes again. Until then, children are being told to stay at home with their parents. If demountable buildings can't be found soon, students may have to travel to neighbouring towns for classes.
Definitely important for the kids to get back. That's maybe a bit of healing. Get to go back to classes and then you'll see like all your friends and that. Which makes things a whole lot better.
4,000 soldiers are working across the region to speed up the recovery effort.
There's a job to do, and the way Defence normally does things is it gets in and keeps at the job until the job is done.
And right now, these communities need all the help they can get. In Tully, Melinda Nusafora, 10 News.
And restoring basics such as power to many thousands of homes is the next major priority for the North. As Tim Collett reports from Townsville, an army of workers has fallen in to help all those left in the dark.
Yes, we've all, of course, heard of Brisbane's now famous Mud Army, which took to the streets in the wake of the flooding. Now there's another army who are in heavy lift barges, in trucks and up cherry pickers all across far north Queensland, trying to reconnect so many customers back to the power grid so they can get on with their lives. Under a blazing North Queensland sun, they're giving their all for those who have nothing. Street by street in Townsville, repair crews are winning the little battles, but realise the war to restore a very broken power network's only just begun.
We restored power to around 20,000 customers yesterday. We're expecting to get some really solid gains again today.
That's going to put a smile back on Diane O'Brien's face. You're feeling very isolated?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, for night time, in the dark, absolutely.
She and housemate Sue survived the cyclone, but are struggling with their new diet since the power went off a week ago.
Rice, baked beans, and even the bread's gone mouldy. Somebody loaned me a miner's torch, which I rejected out of hand initially, but I found it absolutely very useful.
Townsville's mayor not without his trials too.
Mayor, have you got power at your house yet?
No, I haven't, and I've got to tell you, I was tonguing for a cold beer yesterday afternoon and couldn't find ice anywhere in town.
This is hot and heavy work, and these teams are being slowed down in their effort to reconnect power to customers by these large trees that they're having to get rid of before they can even get to the power lines. The city's water and sewerage systems also remain fragile at best because of the power drought.
Over half our sewage pumping stations now have power attached, but there are still a substantial number that haven't been.
And further afield, where even power poles are scarce, some heavy-duty help is on the way by sea. A barge loaded with electrical cabling, power transformers and circuits left Townsville Harbour today and will arrive in some of the hardest hit areas tonight.
That equipment will actually help us get into hard-hit areas like Tully and Mission Beach so that we can get in and start rebuilding our network.
Meantime, the Centrelink network is struggling to process the thousands of hardship applications from cyclone victims. Hundreds queuing at the only office open today.
All the other Centrelink areas have no power, and I think they're also the regular customers also have to come here as well. So
small steps forward, so many more to go. In Townsville, Tim Collins, 10 News.
Defence aircraft is also being used to deliver vital supplies to the north. Hercules and C-17 stocked up with necessities like toilet paper, baked beans and bottled water will leave from Amberley over the next few days.
It's a rewarding sort of task. We love doing these sorts of things.
Today alone, they delivered 320,000 kilograms of groceries to the north. Well, the Bureau warned there could be as many as 6 cyclones this season, and now a new weather system is forming in the Coral Sea. Now, Summer, will that pose a threat to Queensland?
Well, Lexi, the tropical disturbance is currently southwest of Fiji. The Weather Bureau will be keeping an eye on it over the next few days, as it does have a high chance of developing into a cyclone, but authorities aren't worried about it affecting Queensland. Here's what Premier Anna Bligh had to say.
The Bureau tells me that while they are monitoring this new system off Fiji, they are unconcerned about it. It is modelled to travel significantly south and not to hit the Queensland coast.
So that's most certainly a relief for battered Queensland. I'll be back with the forecast just before 6:30. See you then, Lexi.
Thanks, Summer. Well, Queensland's tourism industry is bleeding from the double whammy of disasters. Kathy Border reports from a tourism hotspot that missed the devastation but not the fallout.
Normally a thriving tourism destination, even in the cyclone season, Airlie Beach is suffering. The backpackers have deserted the area, and while they did cop a drenching as a result of the cyclone, as you can see, it's still picture perfect here. The nighttime scene is so different.
Talking about a revolution.
One of the local pubs here last night would normally have had at least 200 patrons. This was the scene last night. So different.
There'd usually be a lot more Australians here at this time of year, but it seems to be just the dwindling amount of backpackers that we've got at the moment.
Some are coming back.
We arrived the day after Yasi.
We're hoping to see Whitehead Beach and so seeing the Great Barrier Reef.
But the locals desperately need more to avoid even more job losses.
Get out here, check it out and dive.
Community Cabinet is meeting here today and tomorrow, a much needed boost for the area. But the message from the Whitsundays is loud and clear.
No evacuation centres anywhere within this region. We're getting calls from everywhere.
I would be concerned if there was a communication issue in relation to that local community.
It's business as usual. The doors are open. Please come and visit.
We're here. We're ready to go. Come on down.
In Airlie Beach, Kathy Border, 10 News.
Next, 2 frightening carjackings within hours of each other on the Gold Coast. Then, boy or girl, Posh and Bex prepare for their 4th child.
On a brand new Modern Family.
Luke, I am your father.
That takes me back to the delivery room.
That's what I said to you when you were coming out of your mom's lady parts.
Oh my God, Dad.
New Modern Family, tonight on 10.
You're watching 10 News Queensland. A thief with a taste for fast cars is on the run after 2 carjackings on the Gold Coast. In both cases, the drivers were threatened with a large knife. A BMW M3 was taken from a family at Movie World late yesterday afternoon and later found dumped at Tallybudgera. 4 hours later, a 2002 model Monaro, similar to this one, was stolen from a couple at Pacific Fair.
They were sensible in that they just surrendered their vehicle and did not endanger their lives. We can always replace a vehicle, can always find a vehicle, but don't want to get injured.
Anyone with information should contact Crime Stoppers. Well, Prime Minister Julia Gillard has hit back at critics over her handling of the flood disaster. It comes ahead of the first week of Parliament, where the flood levy is looming as the big issue to divide the House.
No problem. Forget style, RPM's made of something else.
I understand that people will make commentary about political style. My focus is always on the substance.
Julia Gillard may have been defending her wooden flood disaster performance, but it was Tony Abbott's character in her firing line, giving him stick over an anti-flood levy email asking for party donations.
Absolutely amazed that Tony Abbott somehow thought it was okay to be out fundraising for the Liberal Party during a national crisis.
An opportunist, incapable of the sort of leadership that Australia requires.
I want people to donate to the flood appeal.
And to the Liberal Party. And to the Liberal Party.
I'm not going to discourage them.
The opposition will outline budget cuts to fund the rebuilding effort in coming days. In the meantime, it wants small business relief loans expanded.
Businesses which haven't actually been physically damaged by the floods, but which have been economically impacted.
Like Mark Tobin's trucking business.
Anything would help. Anything that we don't have to pass on to our customers.
The government claims the existing cover is adequate. This week will be the first time Parliament sits for the year, and Julia Gillard will try to get her flood levy through. Not only that, she'll try to nut out a health reform plan to take to the Premiers ahead of the COAG meeting. She won't be drawn on whether she'll dump Kevin Rudd's proposal for the Commonwealth to be the dominant hospital funder.
Yes, there will be a lot of focus and discussion on financing arrangements.
Amanda Hart, 10 News.
Overseas now, and senior members of Egypt's ruling party have quit en masse, yet President Hosni Mubarak still shows no sign of stepping down. His new deputy is in landmark talks with the opposition Muslim Brotherhood as protesters refuse to back down on day 12 of their crusade.
When the troops moved in on Liberation Square, anti-government protesters linked arms and formed a human chain to keep them out. With more than 100,000 turning out for day 12 of the sit-in, the head of the army was sent in to negotiate.
We need to open this road. This road is blocking traffic.
But the crowd made it clear they aren't going anywhere until the president quits.
Mubarak ought to leave. Mubarak ought to let us live freedom.
And they're preparing for the long haul. Liberation Square has become a city within a city, complete with food supplies, field hospitals hospitals and newsagents. Scuffles broke out as opposing protesters clashed, while media crews were again targeted as they tried to reach the square.
Now we're only a few minutes from Tahrir Square. Of course, the protests there have been peaceful, but out here on the streets is quite dangerous. That's where the vigilante gangs are stopping us from filming, and we can see now we're being surrounded by a group and we're being told to stop filming.
What's wrong? We can't film. President Mubarak continues to cling to power despite top-level resignations from his cabinet, including his own son.
The status quo is simply not sustainable.
All this began with a protest group on Facebook. Almost 2 weeks on, nobody knows how or when the violence will end. In Cairo, Brett Mason, 10 News.
David and Victoria Beckham are reportedly expecting a girl. For the parents of 3 boys, it will be their first daughter. The singer, who's made no secret of her desire for a girl, wept when doctors revealed the baby's sex during a routine scan. The baby is due mid-year. Well, Jono Williams joins me now for Sports Tonight. And Jono, the Aussies are doing really well in Perth.
Yeah, they sure are, Lexi, and that's with a makeshift lineup. We'll bring you all the one-day highlights next. And party time for Aussie golfer Jared Lyle at the Phoenix Open.
To break this case, you have to bend the rules.
And when the stakes are this big, the rules will be thrown out the window.
You're dead. New 8:30 tonight on 10.
You're watching Sports Tonight. Australia is on track to inflict more misery to England's dismal one-day campaign after posting a big total in Perth. In a new-look side, local boy Adam Voges put on a show.
A pair of keepers opened for Australia, but it was England who needed the extra set of gloves behind the stumps.
Edge dropped, put down.
Tim Payne not so lucky, given out on review despite getting 3 metres down the pitch. Callum Ferguson soon followed while Haddon made the most of his life.
In the air, down the ground, and sixer.
Innovation from the members kept the ball alive.
It is a perfect shot.
Before Haddon's fortunes ran out.
Excellent from Steve Finn.
Brilliant, brilliant. Not so brilliant Luke Wright. He dropped David Hussey, then grounded a chance from Cameron White. The misfortune not exclusively reserved for England's bowlers. A spectator was injured by a Hussey maximum as he and Adam Voges combined for a 95-run stand. Hussey fell for 60 before a brief cameo from Mitchell Johnson was brought to a spectacular end by Matt Pryor in the deep.
That sounded real good. Oh, brilliant in the deep! It's the keeper!
Australia ended with 279, and in reply it took the wild thing only 2 balls to strike.
Oh, that's a start for you.
Strauss cleaned up by a Sean Tate thunderbolt, far from the perfect end to a 3-month tour of Australia, and made even worse when Steve Davies followed in the next over. Nick Lockyer for Sports Tonight.
Voges and David Hussey were the stars with the bat for Australia in the final match of the summer. England are in early trouble. And the Pakistan cricketers accused of spot fixing have all copped lengthy bans from the ICC. Salman Butt's been suspended for 10 years, Quick Muhammad Asif for 7 and teenager Muhammad Amir for 5.
Of 18 as straightforward 5 years, but it will be...
I agree with it certainly, and we'll be challenging it in appeal before the Court of Arbitration for Sports.
They'll all face criminal charges next month. Cowboys playmaker Jonathan Thurston will get the chance to prove he's still worthy of the club's captaincy when he leads out the Indigenous side in next week's All-Stars clash. Momentum is building after last year's success.
Jonathan Thurston is still as popular as ever with the fans, but will the same be said for the Cowboys yet to announce their captaincy?
You know, fingers crossed. You know, I've been doing enough on the training paddock and off the training paddock to, you know, get to see beside my name.
Happy to share the cultural limelight, Broncos flyer Jaral Yao isn't concerned about the match that cost him 10 rounds last season.
I'm pretty proud of who I am and my family. So last year winning the game and
even putting on the jersey was pretty good.
In Sydney, Broncos teammates Darren Lockyer and Ben Hannant were pretty happy with their new NRL All-Stars playing strips. Meanwhile, South Sydney Rabbitohs got their season underway with a 10-4 win over Newtown. The trial match also marking the successful return to the NRL for former Queensland prop Ben Ross after 2 years out with a broken neck.
So I ran at this guy and he put a shot on me and it was good. It was good to be back and good to feel ahead, and now we continue on.
The Sydney Roosters gave over 5,000 flood-affected locals in Ipswich a night out, kicking off their season in a trial match against Queensland Cup team the Jets. A dogged Jets outfit stayed in touch with the Roosters. The Sydney Siders eventually winning 22-12. Kylie Walker for Sports Tonight.
Australia has fallen at the quarter-final stage of the Federation Cup, defeated by defending champions Italy. The Italians went ahead 2-1 in the tie when world number 4 Francesca Schiavone defeated Sam Stosur in 3 sets. Australia's hopes then rested on Yamila Groth's shoulders, but she went down in straight sets to Flavia Pennetta.
It's really tough to play against a good team like Australia, but we're really happy because we are again in semi-final.
Veteran Renee Stubbs played her final match in the doubles dead rubber, bringing an end to a remarkable 25-year professional career. And finally, what about this? At the 16th party hole of the Phoenix Open, Aussie golfer Jared Lyle sinks some memorable hole-in-one in Arizona.
How about that?
Lyle wowed the crowds firstly with a shot and then the celebrations. The ace was the first at that hole since 2002. That's it for Sports Tonight. Summer's up next with a forecast for the week ahead.
Well, Summer has the weather now, and the battered north's copped a drenching.
Yeah, Lexi, it's the last thing they need right now as they're trying to clean up. But it's been bucketing down from about Cooktown to Ingham today. It's eased substantially, but Cairns had more than 60 millimetres since 9 this morning. A couple of storms shifted through the southeast this afternoon, which put almost 20 mils in the gauge in some Brisbane suburbs. The Northern Territory and South Australia are still seeing some heavy falls from Cyclone Yasi, which is still situated over central Australia. A trough through the eastern inland fed by onshore winds will trigger showers and storms for Queensland tomorrow. Sydney's reprieve from the heat will continue tomorrow, down to 24 degrees, 22 and sunny in Melbourne, 28 for Adelaide. A few showers and storms about Queensland tomorrow as these unstable conditions continue. 31 for Cairns and Townsville, a shower or two on the Gold Coast. The hinterland may get a storm, 23 to 29 degrees. A few showers and a possible storm on the Sunshine Coast, up to 30 there. On the water, seas offshore 2.5 metres, just over a metre on the bay. There'll be south-southeasterly change in the winds, up to 25 knots. A few showers and the chance of a couple of storms inland for the southeast tomorrow. Toowoomba 28 degrees, Caboolture 29. Some showers to start the week in Brisbane tomorrow, still warm at 31 degrees. And looking ahead, we could see some rain on Tuesday. It'll clear to showers by Wednesday, and then temperatures will dip. I don't know about you guys, but I'm certainly looking forward to a bit of a cooler change.
Yeah, certainly. It's been hot.
Yeah, I'm just over it. I'm sure you are too.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Summer and Jono. Well, that is 10 News. Join us again tomorrow at 5. Good night.